Good evening. I'd like to call the regular City Commission meeting of February 13th to order and ask that you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. There are copies of the agenda available at the back of the commission chamber as well as on the recorder's desk. I'd like to start with approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of both the regular, I think we have two sets of minutes. A special meeting of Monday, January 8th, and the regular City Commission meeting of January 8th.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move that we approve the minutes of the special meeting from January the 8th and the regular commission meeting minutes from January the 8th, 2018.
Second.
I'll note that there was a new set of minutes placed at your desk this evening that had a couple of corrections. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved. Communications. We have 4 different communications. One of them is a resignation from the Environmental Advisory Board. Do we have a motion to accept that with thanks for service?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have another communication that consists of 6 different checks from the Huntington Woods Men's Club that combine for a total of the big check over there on the side of the room, a little over $32,000. I just wanted to go through some of the things that they've paid for in the last few months, including many of the fall Parks and Recreation programs, the self-checkout system at the Huntington Woods Library, a stencil cutter that both Burton Latchkey and the Huntington Woods Library will be sharing. Parks and Recreation, they bought a tent and some teen council support. They also gave some money for the senior bus trip program and also funded the coaches clinic, as I said, totaling $32,000. So what would we do without the men's club?
I don't know, but I don't want to think about it.
That's a good question.
Well, they can use your help while we're on this subject because the auction is coming up and tickets are on sale at the rec center.
And at City Hall.
And at City Hall.
Yes.
Okay. All right, that's new this year. So stop in either place and get your ticket. It has been a sold-out event for the last 4 or 5 years, so don't wait too long. March 24th is the date of the auction, but try and get your tickets by early March in order to get in. Thanks. Any other comments on communications?
We also have a contribution of $7,523 from the Friends of the Library, which is going to be used to purchase new furniture for the teen area in the library. The furniture includes 3 new high-top study tables and lounge chairs. The furniture will be in the teen area, but hopefully it will be enjoyed by all.
Thank you. All right. Next up is our commissioners, or comments from elected officials, and I see our county commissioner, Aline Zach, is with us.
Good evening, everybody. Want to tell you that there more information for our new Oakland County prescription drug program will be coming soon. We are switching providers back to the National Association of Counties. I will have brochures and more materials soon. There also will be materials brought to senior centers and so forth. We're in the process. I had talked about drinking fountain replacements. So the Board of Commissioners and Oakland County are spending over $500,000 replacing drinking fountains in elementary schools throughout Oakland County. In Berkeley schools, we have roughly about $4,000 to $5,000 worth of drinking fountains. We had already replaced some of them as part of the renovation program. But for example, in Ferndale, there's about 30,000. And what we found, this is to ensure that our students are drinking clean, filtered water. It's less expensive to replace the drinking fountain than to test pipes, replace them. We also are going to encourage sustainability, that people would carry water fountains. So there's been a bulk purchase request, and hopefully within the next couple of months they'll be delivered to the school systems. One of the things we do at Oakland County is public health. I do want to encourage people to get flu shots still. If you haven't gotten them, you can go to our county health department, Greenfield and Catalpa, and get flu shots still. As of January 18th, we have had 1,705 cases of flu in our Oakland County. Yeah, and I don't have the up-to-date, so it's very serious, and you still can help eliminate some flu by having shots. We do have a newer human trafficking website through the county website, www.oakgov.com. I encourage people to check it out. And yes, we do have a big issue in Oakland County of human trafficking. There is a new app through the Road Commission for Oakland County, and it's called Road Commission for Oakland County. And through that app, you can immediately report about potholes in live time that you find throughout Oakland County. So hopefully they can respond more quickly.
Is that before or after you blow the tire?
You're supposed to see it before, but
Doesn't work that way.
unfortunately not. Another public health initiative, this is actually through the state, is we also have an uptick of hepatitis A. And so the state is bringing vaccinations into the communities, and the closest site will be in Ferndale, Wednesday, February 28th, 8 to 11 p.m. at Soho Bar, 205 West 9 Mile. We also have instituted a new Board of Commissioners website. It's under oakgov.com with the intent of us being more customer friendly, more interactive, more communicative. So, I'm very excited about it. You certainly can watch the meetings that I attend, webcast, through that. Also, for low-income people, you can waive your interest and delay paying your taxes. It's income eligible. If you are interested in doing this, you do this until you receive your IRS check, and you can waive the interest till the end of April. You do need to contact the city and let them know that you are going to wait for that check to come in. I did attend the State of the County last week. I do disagree with some of the representation of our county executive, particularly on transit issues, mobility. I'm thrilled that MOGO is here. I was at some of the earlier planning sessions before Huntington Woods got involved, trying to engage Oakland County in some investment toward the bike share. That's still to be continued. It is an economic development issue, so I'm still trying to work on that. But I'm thrilled to have MOGO and that we're supporting that initiative. Finally, I do want to let you know that I have filed for my last term of office as County Commissioner, and I hope to be able to serve you another 2 years. I do not feel like I am done yet. I'm still championing issues such as transit, seniors, mental health, getting our fair share of park money and so forth. So never in my wildest dreams did I think I would be here this long, but I got another couple, I hope to serve you another couple years. So, any questions for me?
Is
Yes.
there a term limit on the county commissioner?
There is no term limit on county
Just wanted to make
commissioners.
sure.
And I am a testimony to institutional knowledge. You know, it is very valuable for me to have the hindsight and understand issues. You know, I don't think that term limits was a good decision. It has made my level of government more political because literally when I started, it was the first year of term limits in the state, and there were 13 new county commissioners as of 25, out of 25. And that was because people were term limited, we had state senators coming down, we had state reps, and I have seen colleagues that have gone to Lansing and come back to serve with me again, multiple times, or lost colleagues that are in the state, so. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we move to public participation, I just wanted to make one statement. For those of you who have not heard, our finance director, Tony Lehman, did announce his retirement coming up on May 1st of this year. And he will be deeply missed, and we'll talk more about that at future meetings. But I wanted to introduce the gentleman sitting
Yes.
next to him, who actually has been kicking around Huntington Woods for a few years, learning a lot from Tony in the process. His name is Tim Rowland, and Tim has accepted the offer to become our new finance director. So thanks,
Oh,
Tim.
baby.
Congratulations on.
Give that, Frank, give that.
So get used to seeing Tim's face around town. Okay. Public participation. This is an opportunity for the public to comment on something that is not an agenda item. If you're interested, please come up to the microphone, state your name and address.
Linda Solomon, 8246 Huntington. I'm here to comment on the zoning ordinance as it pertains to the zoo. At the last city commissioner meeting, Commissioner Roselle suggested, and this is in the minutes, that the planning commission review the portion involving the zoo relative to site plan requirement, landscaping, and a neighborhood protection plan. And I'm interested to know if there's been any further activity or follow-up from the commissioners regarding this. I know that you can't respond, but it was very disappointing at the January Planning Commission meeting when there was no support from the commissioners or city manager regarding a review of the zoo portion of the zoning ordinance. And I realize now that the timeliness is having to do with the tiger exhibit, but we are also very concerned with long-term development at the zoo and current issues that we would like to see resolved. You've heard from many residents via email, at previous commission meetings, at the roundtable you graciously hosted, and I'm hoping you are also aware of the many residents who attended and spoke at the last planning commission meeting. We appreciate all the work you do for Huntington Woods, but I'm here as a reminder that my neighbors and I are still very interested and concerned about visuals along Huntington Road, and we hope you are too.
Actually, just to update that issue, at the last planning commission meeting, the commission did ask administration to review all the zoning ordinances and present them back to them so that they could have a discussion and take a look at it. And it is currently scheduled for their March meeting for a complete review of the zoning ordinance.
Actually, there's 2 meetings in March, so I can tell you it's gonna be on the agenda on March the 19th, the planning commission agenda.
And they probably would have taken it up this month, however, there are, I believe, 3 residential site plan reviews, plus they do have the site plan review of the tiger exhibit for the zoo, so their schedule is gonna be pretty busy that night. That's why they put it off to the meeting in March.
Great, thank you.
Sure. Any other?
Hi, I'm Ellie, and this is Ella, Stella, and Avery, and we are all Huntington Woods residents. We are here tonight to share our hopes in creating a safer community for children, most importantly at night. Kids our age like to spend time with friends outdoors and around Huntington Woods after dark. We surveyed students at our school and found feeling safe at night was a common concern.
We are proposing the idea of adding motion-censored and/or solar-powered additional streetlights. Motion-censored lights minimize the amount of bright light that would shine into people's homes and would only turn on when a pedestrian or car passes by. Solar-powered lights would charge during the day and provide a more efficient source of lighting at night.
Since we only have feedback from the students in our school, we feel we need to hear from more people in the community. We are proposing to send out a citywide survey for all families to hear their thoughts on our proposal and any additional suggestions from the community on how to make our idea fit their needs.
We are fully aware there may be objections and that this is not a citywide issue, but most people would agree that safety in our community is important when raising a family. Some people might think that this would be way too expensive, and it might be at initial cost, but with motion-censored lighting and/or solar-powered lighting, they are only on when it detects movement, and we are getting energy from the sun, therefore it is not wasting energy. Some people may also argue that with more lighting, they will see it within their homes, but motion sensor lighting will minimize that. In the long run, this will save a lot of money and make people feel safer in the community.
Every year, 8th graders at Norb International are asked to come up with a solution to a problem or issue that we feel is present in our community. This is our project because we feel it directly impacts us as young adults and we want to feel safe in the community that we love so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is this something we can ask the city to investigate a little bit and at least start putting some costs together with it? And then we can continue the conversation on. If there's any way we could get your names and contact information, if you could leave it with Joy, that
Yep.
would be great, and we can keep you in the loop as to what's going on.
It's on here.
Okay. We can reach all of you.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment?
Yes. Tony Lehman, 13303 Nadine. I had a call from the Wyandotte Finance Director at 6 o'clock, and he said, well, how could I see your commission meeting? And I said, well, you could watch it on cable. Well, aren't you live streaming it? And I said, well, we were thinking about it. Oh, wait a minute. Yes. There I am. So today, I hope you're on your best behavior because someone in Wisconsin, Commissioner Olsman, and someone in Wyandotte is watching you as you do your duty here as commissioners today, live streaming. So our crack team of cable experts behind that door there have figured out a methodology by which the world is watching you today. So that's the one thing. And the other thing is, of course...
The big question is, can they hear us?
Yes. And we are working
Bigger question is, do they want to?
The bigger question is, do they want to? We are working tirelessly on that. And lastly, even though there may be a question as to whether you ought to be paid for the last 3 years or 2 years, the mayor and I have got an ongoing battle about that. On your desk, you did see your handsome payment of $2 vis-a-vis those silver dollars and proof coins you have. We'll argue the fact of whether it should be 3 years or 2 years based upon the mayor beating me up after the meeting. But for the time being, 2 years are paid for, so leave me alone about your wages, please.
We'll only badmouth you 1/3 of it.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. All right, moving on to the items of business. First item is a bid award for the 2018 City Sidewalk Program.
Yes, this is the citywide program we do about every 10 years. We identify hazardous sidewalks, put the quantities together, go out for bids, and get a lower price because of the quantities rather than individuals having to contract on their own. We received 6 bids. The low bidder was Italia Construction. The appropriate action would be to award the bid to them as the low bidder, and then we will be able to notify homeowners that have hazardous flags what the cost will be to do the replacements. And we don't have a time frame yet. We need to sit down with the contractor who has to be awarded the bid first, but then we will be able to let homeowners know when that program is going to take place.
What the hope is the program would take place this summer in total throughout the
Yes.
entire city?
Yes.
So do we have a motion?
So move.
Second?
Okay. Any comments from the public? Any comments from the commission?
Mr. Mayor, construction. How will this bid award translate to, the cost per resident in relation to previous, say sidewalk repair programs? Is it about the same?
We don't have any, you mean like per flag cost?
Yeah.
Individuals that needed to have hazardous flags repaired prior to this program, like in the last couple of years, paid $175 a flag, and this is definitely lower than that. We don't have an exact cost yet because we need to put some administrative fees on the program, but it is going to come in less than $175 for a 5x5 flag. So the quantities did bring the price down.
Mr. Mayor, the only thing I would, it doesn't deal just with precisely with the bid issue, but one thing I would like to do is when the work is being performed, I think we need to at least have on our website some information about the work that's being done, where it's being done, and then there needs to be a number or an email address for residents who have concerns about anything that's being done, whether it's the quality of the workmanship or anything, that they be allowed to address it at the time. And I don't know whether that should be to you. My guess would be probably better to you than directly to the contractor. But this surfaced last fall when Joe and I were out knocking on doors, and we did have a long discussion with a resident, I believe it was on Borgman, about some sidewalk work that was done in front of the house, and she variety of complaints, and I said to her, well, have you called the city manager? And she said no. But I think people will need to be encouraged to, if they see something as the work is progressing, that they should be encouraged to call and say, I have a question about this, or why are they doing this? Because while I suspect most of the time it's going to be benign or not important, there may be circumstances where it does head off a problem. So I would just like to have some, a clearer avenue for people to voice a concern during the process.
Yeah, we plan to have, we're working with Larry Page and Jay Mader as our ombudsman right now, so when the letters go out, presumably this spring, anybody that has a question about why their sidewalks were marked will be able to get a hold of them, and their contact information will be in that letter. They probably will not be here for the summer because of the length of the program, but we've asked the engineers to provide a inspector who would handle those kind of complaints or issues.
Okay. Commissioner.
The low bid was $498,000. We've been asked to approve $700,000. Could the city manager maybe explain that?
Sure. The bid should be awarded in the price of the $498,390. The memo to you was an expression of the fact that we think that the price might be higher. We don't know for sure because the sidewalks haven't been marked from Wyoming to Woodward.
Right.
So we want to build into the budget some wiggle room in case the quantities do go up. But because the homeowners are paying for it, that's not something that's going to come out of the city's budget. But we don't know what the total cost will be at this point because not all the sidewalks have been marked. So it could go as high as 700,000, but the bid award should be the 489. And there's language in the contract that if quantities exceed what we have estimated, that they will stick with the price that they are quoted in their bid.
Okay.
Any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Excuse me. Item number 2, the 2018 pavement reconstruction and water main replacement program.
Yes, this agenda item is to formally award the contract for the 2018 road construction and some water main replacement and award it to the bidder that's had the work the last, at least since I've been here, last 4 years. The engineers recommended going ahead and awarding it to them. The contractor did raise a couple of things, line items in his bid, but they had estimated that the total cost of the project is only gonna go up 2.5%, and the engineers are seeing bids coming in at 10 to 20% over what they think our price will be with sticking with Deponio. And we know them, they know us by now, so we've got a good working relationship. So the recommendation is to award the bid to Deponio for the 2018 road rehabilitation construction.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move that we contract for the 2018 bond program for pavement reconstruction and water main replacement project and award Deponio Contracting of Shelby Township, Michigan, contract in the amount of $2,127,517.
Support.
$571, okay?
571. You don't want to shortchange them.
No. Just for the record, the 3 roads that are going to be affected by this project are Salem between Huntington and Pembroke, Wareham between Huntington and Hendry between Lincoln and Wareham. Any public comment?
Linda Solomon, 8246 Huntington. You know, I've always wondered, because it seems like you take these short segments of the road, would it be more cost effective if you did a longer stretch of the road?
There's a lot of variables that go into selecting what roads get done. Part of it is the condition of the water main underneath it, where the water main is located, what the condition of the road is. So we try to attack the worst roads with the worst water mains. And so that's the general criteria that we use to determine what roads get replaced or reconstructed.
Because it just seems like all the equipment is there and then it sort of stops very arbitrarily when it could continue on and just, I don't know, it seemed like it would be more economy of scale to extend it instead of dividing it up.
We also use some of our own manpower in order to administer the road program. So we've always limited it to a certain amount of road each year so that we can handle it within the city as well.
And also don't want to tear up entire neighborhoods, streets at a time, because people get displaced out of their driveways and have to park the next block over. So we need to, contain that area as well, so people have a place to park and don't have to walk in 2 or 3 blocks.
Okay.
John Avedian, 8366 Huntington. Mr. Mayor, could you just reprise those 3 locations for us, please?
Sure. Salem Road between Huntington and Pembroke, Wareham Drive between Huntington and Hendry between Lincoln and Wareham.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comment? Okay, seeing none other, public participation is closed. Any comments from the commission?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I would say, having walked the entire city twice during the fall, Wareham in particular is literally disintegrated. I mean, the street is just in awful, awful shape. So I'm very pleased to see that these streets are at the tail end of the bond project, but are on the list to get done, honoring the commitment back when the voters approved this bond, and these streets will be done. And now the real question is, where do we go from here? Because there's still a lot of work to do. And so, you know, as we look at our budget and borrowing ability and whatnot, we really are going to have to look at the amount of roadway and what roads remain and the condition of those roads and borrowing ability, and see, you know, infrastructure-wise what we can do, because we still have a lot of roadway to go. This is not by far the end of the list. I want the residents to know that. It does not stop with these 3 streets, but there's not an endless source of money either. And so we are really going to have to do a lot of balancing in the years to come. And the ad hoc budget committee, the city commission will all be working together in the coming months, coming year, to tackle this and many other items that will be on the list. So I just want the folks at home to know that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Commissioner
Yeah,
Chance?
the contractor, DePonio, has a wonderful long-term reputation. I worked at the Department of Transportation. He always did quality work.
Thanks. Any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3 is a matter of considering a professional service agreement for the maintenance of Scotia Park.
Yes, the revitalization of Scotia Park has been completed, and as you know, with new landscaping, the first couple of years is critical to make sure that it takes hold. So this is a proposal from the firm that put the landscaping into Scotia Park, that they will work alongside our parks employee to make sure that it is watered, fertilized, and gets a good, gets, I want to say sunk in, what's the word? Good
Established.
Established, thank you. And also something new that we have not embarked on before, and that is rain gardens. That is a part of Scotia Park to keep stormwater out of our sewer system, so we need to educate our employees on how to maintain rain gardens, and that's part of the proposal from the landscape company. And Mary's here if you have any questions.
Do we have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Any comments, questions from the public? Seeing none, anything from the commission? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4 is a consideration of a letter supporting a bike sharing grant.
Yes, this is, Commissioner Zach was referenced this program. It is an agenda item asking the city commission if they want to send a letter of support for a TAP grant, which is a transportation alternative program through the federal government. The idea is to take the successful bike sharing program that is now located in Detroit and put different locations for the bike sharing docks in neighboring communities. The interested communities are Berkeley, Royal Oak Park, Madison Heights, Ferndale, Pleasant Ridge, and Detroit. And the idea would be to put bike docks in these different locations with the bikes, and then people could use an app or use a kiosk to rent the bikes and go to the various docks in the area. Have not reached out to the public yet to see if this is something that the public is interested in seeing the city pursue, but we are on a timeline. If you do want to support the grant, we need to get that taken care of at today's meeting, because the grants are due in March, and there is no financial commitment. They're not committing to the program, but you are committing to continuing to look at the program to see whether or not it is something that would be beneficial to the city of Huntington Woods and something that our residents would make use of. So we do have a PowerPoint on the bike sharing program if you want to see that so that the audience can see it. So Tony, you want to dim the lights? So these are the bike sharing bikes. There is a third party that takes care of the bikes, takes care of the docking station. So this is not a city-run service at all. And the operations of the bikes are paid for both with advertising and then with user fees. It's different than a bike rental program. It is supposed to be very short term to get you from location to location, so not really for tourists to use. They do have bike rental companies if you want to rent a bike, but the idea is to get on a bike and go to another location, so it's for economic development as opposed to tourism. This is what a typical dock looks like. So the bikes get locked in. You get a code after you purchase your pass that releases the bike, and then you take it to the next destination and you lock it into the next dock that you're at. And it is run on solar energy so that there's no electricity involved in the docking station. In Detroit, they try to keep the docking stations only a quarter of a mile between stations, or a 5-minute walk, because occasionally you'll get to you might get to a dock and there might not be a space to put your bike, and so you're going to have to take it to the next docking station and then come back to wherever you started. But that's probably not going to be a reasonable goal in the regional area, because we just don't have that many places to put the docking stations that would be destinations. All right. These are the docking stations that are in Detroit. So you can see it's quite a successful and very robust program. These are proposed locations that the regional communities are interested in. I had just cited one at Central Plaza just to kind of get a ballpark for what our costs would be, but you can see where the other cities are interested in locations. So there are 3 different stations. There's kind of a high, medium, and low. So the most expensive station is has 15 docking points with 7 bikes. It has a kiosk where you can purchase your passes right there at the kiosk, and it also has space for advertising. The next one, the kiosk is not part of this station, but you would be able to purchase passes through an app on your phone. So you still have the ability to purchase a pass, just not at a kiosk. Same number of docking spaces and same number of bikes, and the cost is a little bit less. And then this is the bare bones docking station. Again, no kiosk and no advertising, and fewer bikes and fewer docking points, and that comes in at $14,431. The purpose of the TAP grant would be to purchase the stations, and there would be a 30% match for the TAP grant if the city decided to participate and if the grant was approved. There is also ongoing operational costs. Again, this outside company that does the bicycle maintenance and makes sure that bikes are distributed evenly among the docking stations. It's about $89 a month per docking point, and that's the cost in Detroit that's being offset by user fees and advertising. At this point, we're just in the talking stages, so we don't know if there is what the advertising would be and what it would cover. and those things need to be worked out if we decide to move forward with it, but that is roughly what the operational cost would be. So the next steps is to submit the application by March the 7th, and then if it's something that is approved, then the communities can continue to work with each other to work out the details, and if it is approved and gets off the ground, the ideal launch date would be a year from now. Is that it?
I think that's it.
All right, thank you. So again, this agenda item is asking you to consider a letter of support for the TAP grant.
Do we have a motion?
Oh, yeah.
So
I'm
moved.
sorry about that. You need the light.
Is that a support?
I forgot the light. You can turn it off.
Second? Thank you. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, moves back to the commission table. Do we have any comments or questions?
Yeah,
Commissioner Jenks.
when I explain Huntington Woods, I tell people we're the only city with 3 downtowns. Within 1 mile of the city, we have 9 Mile, which is Ferndale. We have 12 Mile, which is Berkeley. We have Main Street, and actually, we've got, if you go to Greenfield, we've got shopping. We've got about 30 restaurants within 1 mile of the boundary. Within 2 miles, we have 2 major hospitals. All of the studies and the research on biking tend to indicate that it increases property values, but Linda can tell me if I'm right or wrong on that. And I think one of those reasons would be that it brings in younger people that like that kind of flexibility. It also deals with the last mile when you have any kind of transit system. How do you get there? The one thing that scared me about it until I read a little bit more in depth was we would always be moving a bike to someplace else. But one of the things that was right near the end of that presentation and what occurs in general is you are paying for staff that balance the bikes. In other words, they move them around so that you've got the number that you're supposed to have in your stations. I would want to see more, obviously, than one of those, but I think it would be a win-win for the city. I mean, you've got 2 grocery stores within a third of the mile, Westbourne, Trader Joe's. There's just a whole series of things that if this was relatively close to where you lived, within that 5-minute to 10-minute cycle, you could see people using it to eat, to do local shopping, to carry out a lot of other activities.
Any other comments?
Mayor, yeah, the question is, can we make this work at no cost? And we may be able to. I don't have an issue with, moving forward with this at all. I think that it looks like with advertising dollars, you could see the Henry Ford Health System, and I think in the example, PBS, I think, had some advertisement there. That looks like the advertisement supports sort of the bike maintenance and the ongoing dollars necessary to keep the system operating along with user fees, so that sort of keeps the program going. It's just the initial capital dollars to purchase the bikes and the docking, which if this TAP grant is going to cover all but 30%, we may be able to look at the zoo as a possible location and partner at purchasing a dock, and some other folks possibly ponying up some dollars there to do that. And so if this is a zero-cost thing to the city, why wouldn't we do it? And as, you know, Commissioner Jenks mentioned, at 11 and Woodward, you know, with the smart bus stop there, this is sort of the last mile for folks who get off the bus there and need to go either into downtown Royal Oak or into, you know, Huntington Woods or Berkeley or Oak Park and have no real way to easily get there. And so with all of us partnering together and having these in reasonably close proximity, this gives them a mechanism to do that. So I say let's do it, and let's see what happens with the TAP grant. And if it works, I think we'll be in good shape. If it doesn't, then, you know, back to the drawing board. So.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5 is a matter of appointment to the Environmental Advisory Committee.
Excuse me. Mine says crew cab, I'm sorry.
It's misnumbered
All right,
on the paperwork. but
Thank
The
you.
agenda is correct.
thank you. I was just going down my paper stack.
Do we,
So, Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion that we approve the appointment of Dr. Rachel Wall to the Environmental Advisory Committee. She came in tonight and was interviewed, and I think with her background and time in the city, she'd be a very good fit for that committee.
would that be for the term ending in December of 2021?
Sure would.
I'll second.
Okay. Public comment? Any other comments on the commission? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So now we move to agenda item number 6, which is marked 5 in your packet. It's a matter of a bid award for selling the 1993 GMC Crew Cab. The high bid that was received was a whopping $201. I'm assuming that this vehicle has a lot of miles on it. It's in pretty rough shape.
Anybody who doesn't think we're fiscally responsible, this is a vehicle we've had for 25 years.
Just out of service, how do you like that? 25 years.
Hearing that, I would make a motion that we grab the $201 before who's ever buying it changes their mind.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any public comment? All right, commission, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item number 7 is a bid award for the South Firehouse doors.
Yes, this is after much review, the staff was recommending that instead of repairing the doors at public safety garage, that we replace them. Because we were able to save money with the grant from the MMRMA, there's not gonna be an adjustment in the budget. We'll just use the money that was being set aside for ballistic vests for the replacement doors, and the low bidder was Overhead Door West, and bid was $7,100.
Mayor, I'll move that we replace the south firehouse doors as specified in the bid specifications, bid on January 25th, 2018 by Overhead Door of Waterford, Michigan, for a total installed cost of $7,100.
Support.
Any public comment? Any comments or questions from the commission? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8. This one should be an interesting conversation. City Hall generator and/or Gillum Recreation Center transfer switch installation.
Yes, this is an item to consider placing a generator at a city facility. You might recall last spring for the first time, we opened up the recreation center to residents that lost power during the big windstorm, for anybody that wanted to spend the night there. And we're convinced with the weather patterns that this is gonna be a more frequent event than not. So we started talking about a generator. The only building that has one right now is Public Safety Building. So we first got quotes for a generator at the Recreation Center, since we had used that last spring, and the price was really high. Like almost like over $150,000, which was something that we weren't expecting. So then, in talking with staff, we started talking about placing a generator here at City Hall. And with most things, there's pros and cons to both locations. So there's the consideration of putting it at the Recreation Center or just putting it at City Hall. And then a third option would be kind of a hybrid of the two, which would be put a generator at City Hall and then put a transfer switch at the Recreation Center, so that if we needed to, we would bring in a portable generator,
Right.
and then the Recreation Center would be able to have power. The reason we are bringing this to your attention now is that we want to put money into next year's budget, and you can see the price swing from $200,000 at the Recreation Center to $70,000 for a City Hall generator, or $100,000 for that hybrid. We need direction from the City Commission so that we know how much money to put into the budget. And we are also extremely grateful that the Men's Club is going to donate their proceeds from the auction to this project. So we're estimating that to be around $60,000. But we still, at this point, need direction from the commission so that we can prepare bid specifications, put the money in the budget, and start on a path to, assuming that you're all on board with a generator at a city facility. I guess I should start with that. But if you think that that is a good proposal and a necessary service, then we would like to get started on that project.
I think we should point out that one of the advantages to placing a system here at City Hall is it allows us to power our telephones, which allows us to keep our emergency communication system up and working. Without that,
Well, the 911 system works, it's an independent system, but the other phones at Public Safety, if we lost power here at City Hall, the non-emergency numbers and Detective Bureau, those phones won't work. So we need to have power here, because this is where the server is for all of the phones, for all of our city buildings, is located here. So if we have power here, then Public Safety has
Right.
all of their phone lines working.
And if I may, Mayor, the one of the issues that with the new protocols coming in with 9/11, which are going to be a much more robust system, we don't know exactly what that means at this phone switch. I can tell you this, is this phone switch is end of life. And today I had a conversation with Mike Matter, who is our IT coordinator, with respect to moving into the 21st century with the phone switch, which will mean it's an IP-based system, which will take everything off the wall that's there, and it will be entirely in the rack with all the servers and all of this. Today, this building operates with no generator, but emergency backup vis-a-vis battery. The problem with that is that is a 10-minute deal. All it does is allow for a sequenced turn off of all of these things. So the power doesn't cut off immediately, it just simply goes through a cascade of data communication stuff to turn off all the servers and phones and so forth and so on. So after talking to the chief and spending a lot of time with this, it is very, very logical based upon just those two things. New 911 protocols that we don't know yet, but they are coming right down the pike as we speak, and a phone switch which literally should have been gone 10 years ago, but we need to upgrade right now. And so, do we need it here? We do need emergency power here. Does it do everything we want to do with respect to harboring a lot of people in, emergency situations? No, not in this building. That's why a transfer switch at the recreation center is so logical, because we can always bring in a portable unit. And and it literally would be just, you plug it in and you're done.
My question that I had to the city manager earlier today was that if we had the backup unit here at City Hall, instead of putting this transfer switch at a cost of some $30,000 down at the recreation center, could we spend that money in a more efficient way to use the basement of City Hall to effectuate some of the uses that we would have at the rec center for housing people
In my opinion, after looking at this, and when our city manager came back from spending a few moments with you talking about these items, and she walked into our office and asked that, and it was a hearty, no, that doesn't make sense. And the reason for that is this, is that we're not going to look at this for another 20 years. I mean we've got, Commissioner Roselle was just talking about roads and other matters. Well, we've got a lot of infrastructure work to do. This is not going to happen again. And so we need a methodology by which for a scant, and I mean, it's a lot of money, but $30,000 to allow for someone to roll up a generator and have that entire building be operational for an emergency, if there was a tornado or something or other. So I would disagree with the notion of spending more money here other than to make the bathrooms simply usable, as we're doing now with expanding the doorways and making them ADA compliant. Deal with the steps, deal with the lighting, deal with the things we have to deal with, but not to spend more money on this building we don't have to spend. The $30,000, in my opinion, just my opinion, is personally better used down there with the transfer switch, which we will not do again after this is done, in my opinion.
There are some facilities at the recreation center that we don't have here at City Hall. They have a full kitchen, showers, more bathrooms.
Oh, yeah.
Newer bathrooms than what we have, but there's a cost to that, and we don't know when or how often it'll be used. So again, it's a policy decision for the commission in terms of how much money do you want to put into what we think is going to happen, but we can't tell you when and how often.
In the other thing that was part of our package here that we should put out there is that in the case of a widespread electrical issue, governments have a priority for renting generators.
Right.
So that is why administration came to the conclusion that we would be higher on the list for the ability to get a unit to be rented for the recreation center.
It is atypical to have a power outage like the one that we had 15 years ago, where there was from New York to here. It is far more, unfortunately, far more the case we would have a localized emergency.
And we would not expect large numbers of people for an emergency, which goes back to we don't need the entire recreation center.
Right.
If we have a major widespread event, then, Red Cross is gonna come in and, Oakland County, and people are gonna be removed and taken to other housing. So this is the localized event where people don't have power that are trying to address those needs. A tornado, if people don't have houses, the recreation center is not going to be of much use. They're going to have to go elsewhere.
Mr. Mayor? I think that we definitely need some type of emergency power generation at City Hall. Folks need to be able to call up here to get information, so the phone system needs to work. So I think, without question, especially in light of the fact of how calls are routed, 911 should be reserved for, you know, the most dire of emergencies. And if they can't get through on the non-emergency line because it's not working, because the calls have to go through a system that is down, then they may end up calling that line, and it's, you know, preventing callers who have life-threatening emergencies from getting through. And so we need to invest the dollars on emergency generation for City Hall. That being said, I would not want to house folks in the basement of this building in an emergency situation. I think they'd be more comfortable at the recreation center, you know, as a warming center, or in the event of them wishing to stay overnight. So I think we should invest the dollars in the transfer switch there, and then have some type of agreement with a facility that has a generator that could be brought in and pay for some type of annual fee for the ability to have that brought in if necessary. I know that the county also has those generators, a number of them, you know, on their asset list. And so it might be worth contacting the county and doing an intergovernmental agreement, so that if there is a situation that's not terribly widespread, that we could contact the county and just pay them for the use of the generator if it's available. And so we could explore that option as well. I see them around the campus all the time. So I think, I guess you have it listed here as approach 3 is probably the one that I would favor the most, and that would be, you know, exploring both the generation here at City Hall and the transfer switch at the rec center. You know, I hope it never comes to that again. I hope we never, ever have a situation like that, but our power grid is the worst of all 50 states. We have the worst power grid of all 50 states. So to say that it's not going to happen again is really wishful thinking. So I think we need to be prepared, and this is how we do that. So, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I think it's a great idea, approach 3, for smaller, perhaps pockets within in the neighborhood that have a loss of power. Then we would have the option of bringing people here. We wouldn't need to open the rec center, so I think it's great that we would have it here. But also then, for a larger scale outage, I think it's great to have the rec center available. So I think that approach 3 is a good solution.
Yeah, I support approach 3 as well. I am concerned, though, that I hope we can take some power and provide it to public services from that power generator. And that's here. And the rationale behind that is, in a lot of times, it's public services that has to go out and do the cuts, do a lot of the clearing, and do some of the physical work. I do like the rec center as a location, having actually used it when it was open. It has a space. You get the privacy, you get different shapes, you get different groups that can be spread out, and actually the way it's set up with the desk where it is, you have good security, and the building itself is set up for security already. So we deal with a whole bunch of functions, and I think as the weather has a tendency to get colder for longer periods of time, that we may be thinking, we may need to think more about sometimes having a warming center that's open for people, especially as our population ages, and we have no information that our population is not aging in Huntington Woods.
So what we're looking for is direction from the council on which plan you prefer, so we could put money in the budget and then prepare specifications. So it's not a commitment one way or the other, it is a commitment to continue to explore the proposal and get better costs.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move that the City of Huntington Woods endorse the Men's Club grant for the purpose of the installation of providing emergency electrical generation capacity to the City Hall building and Gillum Recreation Center, choosing option 3 and the budget that has been presented here. Further, be it resolved that the city will place into the CIP budget in 2018-2019 contingency dollars to assist in the completion of the project in the 2018-2019 project year.
Second.
Any public comments? Seeing none. Any other comments or questions of the commission?
Just one question. Charging stations. I could imagine a situation where a lot of people would like to come and charge their phones so they have access. So I don't know if we could figure out a way to do that, charging stations.
You know, that may be something we can look at
Yeah.
as part of the budget, but that can be, yeah, that can be
Right.
done pretty
Pretty
easily.
easily. Okay.
But, one comment though, and I know, if I may, the DPW doors, I mean, one of the things we did last year is, you had mentioned emergency power for Department of Public Services. We put, and it was very low cost, we put some transfer switches there for what is the doors that operate those big heavy doors where the trucks are there. So during a emergency situation, we can put a generator out there, a portable one, which is all we need, and operate those doors.
And I was
So we
worried
have
about
done what we
heat
need
as
to
well.
do to make the DPS building rather functional
Okay.
in a emergency.
All right. Yeah, I was just worried about heat and light.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
people can't work 26 hours.
Sure.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Some research to do on
Yes,
costs and.
it's a good project.
Okay, item number 9, 2018 Tri-Party Program Agreement.
Yeah, the Tri-Party Program is a program that involves the Road Commission from Oakland County, and the city. Each entity puts in 1/3 of the cost of a project. This year, there is $10,885 being set aside for the Tri-Party Program for Huntington Woods. Work can only be done on a county road, which for us is only 10 miles. So because we're doing the sidewalk replacement program and there are some hazardous flags along the service drive there that do need to be replaced, we're recommending that the city commission authorize the use of the tri-party funds for the sidewalk replacement program, and that we send that notification to to the road commission, so they participate in the project with us.
We have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll move that the City of Huntington Woods enter into an agreement to participate in the 2018 Tri-Party Program and accept the allocation of $10,885, and that these monies be utilized for funding the cost of sidewalk replacement along I-696 Service Drive this season under the Sidewalk Replacement Program.
Second.
Any public comment? None, any other comments or questions? Commissioner Jenks?
Long-term, I'd like to see the city consider along that area both a running trail and a biking trail, and maybe consider, instead of cement, 2 asphalt paths. And you can look at Cambridge, Massachusetts for the idea along the Charles River. Because the traffic is funny on 10 Mile Road on our side, and it might be nice if people could bike as well as run, but not, there's no way you can safely do it in the roadway.
Okay. Any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have 7 sets of reports and minutes. Do I have a motion to accept and file?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions? Commissioner
Yeah,
Brooks?
I'd like, there's one table in here, I'd like the sanitation section to be reviewed and replaced.
And the finance report?
Yes.
About?
Yeah. There's an error there that Commissioner Jenks pointed out, and I will have a new.
You guys don't read it.
Yeah. I'm glad you do, and I will have a new copy out to you tomorrow.
Okay, any other? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Reports and minutes are received and filed. Warrant number 333, do we have a motion to accept, subject to full audit?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to our city manager's report.
Yep, just a couple of items to remind the public about. The first is the Environmental Advisory Committee has put together a very quick 4-question survey on recycling needs and preferences. So if you go to our website, www.hwmi.org, survey will just take a minute or two to fill out. And also, kind of related to that, the Sacra facility that had been under construction is now open. So the recycling drop-off services are available at Sacra. You can go to sacra.org to get the hours of operation and what items can be dropped off. The clerk has asked me, or the treasurer has asked me to remind you that if you're watching tonight, tax bills are due tomorrow, February 14th, if you haven't paid them yet. And lastly, recreation registration is open for spring classes. You can register now online. The Hometown Herald with the recreation programs is also available online for you to review at www.hwmi.org, and hard copies will be mailed out February 26th for people that like to hold their newsletters. And that's it.
Are there any questions of the city manager? We'll move on to commissioners' remarks. Mayor Pro Tem Iverson.
I have no comments.
All right. Commissioner Jenks.
I'll take her time.
On second thought, I think I have a few.
My neighbor hit her emergency alert button by mistake. Her kids couldn't reach her. They called me and asked me to go and look and see if her car was there. As I went out the door, I saw public safety already there and actually in the house, and an Alliance ambulance there as well. Before I could get next door, public safety was inside, everything was okay. My neighbor, it turned out, was at work. Once again, I saw public safety's instant response. Thank you. After the large snowfall, my driveway was partially cleaned by my neighbor. Thank you, Tom. As I tried to back out of the driveway, a car was parked right at the end across the street. I couldn't go fast to beat the bump at the bottom of the roadway, and I got stuck. Along came a couple in a station wagon. They couldn't pass me. The guy got out, shoveled the ice away, and then pushed me at an angle until I was on the road. I've watched as residents help each other within the city, rocking cars, doing whatever's necessary. I'm proud to be in the woods. Thank you again. Along those lines, I'd like to alert you to 3 programs that you might be able to help for yourself or your neighbors. One is the RAP program. Do we participate in it?
Yes.
We do.
Okay. The Community Action Alliance Water Residential Assistance Program, grant program, is a program created with the development of the Great Lakes Water Authority. It provides water bill payment and plumbing repair assistance to low-income households. There is no cost to the city to participate. The only requirement is that the city provide administrative support to the program, including record keeping and reporting. To be a Tier 1 community, the city also agrees not to roll unpaid water bills onto the tax rolls. Applications are made through RAP, and they provide a chart that defines eligibility using total income and number of residents in the household. If you're having a problem with water, please contact the city. The second program is the poverty exemption, under, which you can go before the March Board of Review to deal with. About a week ago, I got my new property tax assessment and taxable evaluation. My taxable value went up by 1.021%. There's a state law that provides for a poverty, low-income property tax adjustment and even elimination of your property tax liability. But you need to fill out the city's form, and you need to apply now before the March Board of Review. Call the city and ask what are the current poverty guidelines and how the exemption works. If you believe you may qualify, ask for assistance with filling out the forms. You may be eligible for property tax relief, but you have to do it now so that you get scheduled for the Board of Review at the beginning of March. They contact
Contact the finance department. We'll take care of it.
Contact the finance department by calling the city. The last comment is there is something called the MAP program, the Michigan Activity Pass. Did you know that your library card can be your best travel companion? Discover hundreds of Michigan's cultural destinations and natural attractions with your Michigan library card. You can check out free or discounted admission passes to hundreds of Michigan state parks, campgrounds, museums, trails, arts and cultural destinations. There are 400 destinations in the program, some as far away as 400 miles. You can do this by computer or in the library. It runs through May 23rd of this year. Included are Cranbrook, the Holocaust Memorial Center, the Michigan Women's Historical Center, the Science Center, the DIA, the Arab American National Museum, and lots of other programs. And you may wonder why I'm mentioning this. The reason I'm mentioning it is we've had this program in the library for 20 years. Last year, only 42 people took advantage of the program. Thank you. Happy
Commissioner
Valentine's Day.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be brief, I promise. Just wanted to let the residents know that there is a new episode of the Commissioner's Corner television show that will be airing in a couple weeks. This episode is on community organizations, and so I had from the Huntington Woods Women's League, its president, Teresa McDonald, and from the Huntington Woods Men's Club, its president, Carl Sullivan. And so we talked about sort of how these organizations came into existence and what good they do in the community and how they raise funds. And so it focuses sort of on community organizations and the good work they do in our community. So that episode will replace the one that's been airing for a little while now in about a few weeks. So residents can watch that on channels 10 or channel 20, depending if they have Comcast or WOW, or they can catch it on the city YouTube channel if they have UVerse or DirecTV or don't have cable television at all. And I also just wanted to thank our Public Works Department for the excellent job that they've done removing the snow from our streets. It doesn't take much to go around to some of these other communities and see that they do not get into the neighborhoods at all. And our folks do. And so it's a testament to the good work they do. And so I wanted to give our folks a shout out. They don't get a pat on the back all that often, so I wanted to tell them keep up the good work and keep getting that snow out of our streets. I wish it wasn't there. I'll be leaving for Florida soon, so I won't have to deal with it. But if it does fall while I'm not here, keep up the good work. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
I was going to second those long-winded comments about DPW and just add the city manager to the list of people to be told thank you, and also Huntington Woods Public Safety for the way they've run the show here during these snow emergencies and bitterly cold days. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Tim, for attending our commission meeting. We're looking forward to seeing you in the future years. And with that, I'll call this meeting adjourned.